All right, y'all. So it's been a minute since I checked out one of these hoarder videos, right? This guy's about to do some deep cleaning in a hoarder's house. Let's check it out.
This is Mac. He specializes in cleaning the homes of people with hoarding disorder and is used to wading through heaping piles of clutter. But this job presents an unusually large challenge. Mac will be cleaning a 6-bedroom home in Illinois, and it's the biggest he's ever tackled.
This is just a nightmare. We're finding food from 2013. We've got paint cans that I no longer have the strength to carry.
Mac often cleans solo and does much of this work free of charge, but this job is so daunting that he's invited 2 other cleaners to join him. Over the next 3 days, they'll work together to declutter and clean as many rooms as possible.
Free of charge? I couldn't even get the word free of charge. Who's doing that for free? Food from 2013. Why are we doing this? No, they need to be compensated. Bro, that's a lot of work. Nastiness. Imagine what it probably smells like. Nah, bro, somebody need to pay them.
Normally, I'm dealing with a totally different type of cleaning. In other hoarder houses, I'm dealing with a lot of insects and mouse droppings and pet urine and just a lot of stuff that you definitely want to have PPE on in order to even enter the house. This one was just piles upon piles of stuff. It's the most stuff that I've ever taken out of a house.
This house belongs to a family of 4 who declined to appear on camera due to privacy reasons. One of the family members is believed to be living with hoarding disorder, although he's awaiting an official diagnosis. But even with treatment, experts say relapses can occur. This is the 4th time cleaners have worked extensively to declutter this home. The last attempt was 5 years ago.
Okay, so how do I not sound insensitive, right? Because are we really labeling this a disorder? And this is coming from, I guess, me not knowing much about this whole thing. You know, maybe y'all can break it down for me and I can understand that it's actually a disorder and I don't sound so naive about it. But I'm like, huh? Like, and that comes from me, my upbringing. My mom be like, boy, you just being lazy. Get up off your behind and clean your room. Or come over to your house and like, boy, are you serious? No. You know what I mean? So I grew up like that. My mom's gonna tell you about yourself and not care about how you feel about it. So I would have never been able to develop a disorder like this with those type of parents and family members that I had. So yeah, bring me up to speed on it. How is this a disorder?
In hoarder houses, we will often find rooms that have never been entered in a decade. And one of the reasons that happens, and it's really common, is you have a room that no longer has a purpose. So in this room, it's the living room and the purpose is to watch TV and to relax. If a room loses that purpose because they start piling things up, then the purpose of the room becomes, this is where we throw all of our stuff.
Junk room.
This place is not what I'd consider a hazard or a biohazard. It's a hazard for tripping. And it's a hazard for fire, because they've got an open fireplace in here and they've got so much clutter that it becomes a danger.
Hoarding is defined as persistent difficulty discarding or parting with possessions, regardless of their actual value. It's estimated that somewhere between 2 and 4% of the worldwide population have hoarding disorder.
Now, see, that part I can understand. People have a hard time parting ways with their things. They get attached, they grow attached, and it's hard for them to let it go. They find some use for it in their brain. Oh, I'm gonna eventually use it for this. Oh, don't get rid of that. I can use this. Maybe one day somebody may need this. And they do that with a lot of things, and over time it just becomes overwhelming and they never let things go. I get that part of it.
It's only day 1 of this ambitious project, but when Mac and his team arrive at the house, they discover things already aren't going as planned.
So they have cleaned a bunch of stuff before we got here, which normally I wouldn't like. I wanted the big mess, and I wanted to be able to go through the whole house and make it pretty myself. This is, I think, a 30-yard dumpster. They filled 2 of these already over the top, and we're getting ready to fill the 3rd one. If we had more time, we would probably fill 10 of these from this house. So even though I'm a little disappointed, I'm really thankful that they did have the help.
Mac and his team plan to start on what's typically the hardest room to clean, the kitchen. They'll need to pay special attention to this space to ensure it's sanitary enough for handling food. Then they'll move on to the rooms on the main level of the house, and finally tackle the basement, which hasn't been entered in 3 years. The key tools Mac and his team use are an emulsifier to cut through grease, a homemade all-purpose cleaner, scouring pads, and razor blade scrapers.
So when people asking why this job takes so long, because we have to check everything, like if it's expired or not, or still good, no. Okay, nope, a big no. For the old pancakes, no.
They
Beer,
like
we
pancakes.
never waste any beer, no.
Holy crap. That was a lot.
Just out the cabinet.
Yeah, that's pushing an easy 200 pounds.
Mac says the biggest challenge of cleaning a house like this is knowing what to keep and what to throw away.
There are a lot of people who will say you're fine to throw away absolutely everything, but they don't really mean that. They mean you can throw away the junk, but you have to decipher what's junk and what's not. There's also the urge to throw away large armfuls of stuff, and most of the time there's going to be some stuff underneath it that's important. All right, I got one counter done. I'm done. Back to the hotel.
Although cleaning the home will make it safe,
Yeah, that's crazy. You got to get a hotel room for a job like this. Yo. Now, me personally, they would have to be over my shoulder because I'd be throwing away everything. Everything that's not an important document like that, I'm throwing it away, fam. Why are we keeping this? You need to start from scratch. You need to redo, restart everything, reboot it all.
safer and more livable, it can be distressing for people with hoarding disorder to see their space transformed. People who hoard tend to have a deep connection with their objects, and removing them can create an experience of loss, which is one of the major contributors of hoarding behaviors.
He's going to come home to a very, very dramatic change, and it's going to be a shock to him. And even though most people will come home and see the change and think, oh my God, this is so great, you've cleaned my house, he's probably not going to feel that way.
As day one comes to a close, Mac and the team have finished most of the kitchen, which they will continue to clean for the next 2 days. On day 2, Barbie and Bonnie will also tackle the sunroom and living room, while Mac ventures into the basement.
I'm going to go down to that basement and do as much as I can on the basement today. That is going to completely wear me out. If I can get that out of the way today, then that means tomorrow we can do things like the dining room and get this floor done. I'm going to attempt to tackle this area, this whole area. There's this part of the basement. There is a room to my left, and there's a room over here, and they all look like what's behind me. This is going to be extremely difficult because there's a lot of things that need to be kept.
Mac discovers an abundance of stockpiled food and supplies, including countless jugs of water, jars of marinara sauce, bottles of hydrogen peroxide, and 5-gallon containers filled with something unusual.
All these 5-gallon buckets, those are all filled with food. Yeah, I thought they were paint.
What kind of
Like that one says macaroni and spaghetti or something. So I'm just going to stack them all together, and they want to
But
keep
do you
them.
think it's still good?
Probably not.
They might have been preparing for the zombie apocalypse down there. I'll see a lot of canned goods, and it's not actually as bad as I would have thought. You know what I mean? It looks somewhat like they tried to organize it, but it just became overwhelming for them. But this isn't as bad as I thought it would be. I expected to just see, but this has some sort of order to it.
People can inherit characteristics from their parents that make them more likely to develop hoarding behaviours.
Good point.
Grief and loss can also contribute to this. Over the years, Mac has noticed patterns in the kinds of items he finds while cleaning.
They stack up air filters and medication and antibiotics and hydrogen peroxide and alcohol, and all of them are unopened, and all of them are there just in case. And they just keep building and building.
As Mac continues sorting through jugs of water and medical supplies, he stumbles on one item in particular he's learned to never throw away.
I've thrown away shells twice, and in both occasions people were like, have you seen a big bag of shells? That was when we went to Myrtle Beach or Florida or whatever on a family trip. But they're never displayed as a collection. They're just stuffed in a bag in some random spot. But I've learned over time that shells are always a memento for somebody. Unless they got their house infested by clams. In which case they're good to go.
Much of what Mac finds in the basement needs to be lugged upstairs to the dumpsters, and so many trips up and down the stairs with heavy bags is starting to take its toll.
Right now, my neck is just throbbing, and my right arm I'm pretty sure is injured. I have to be super careful today on what I lift and how I lift it and how much I lift. It's a little scary because if I tweak my back anymore, I'm out of the picture, and I don't want that to happen.
Back upstairs, Barbie and Bonnie are finishing the kitchen and starting on the living room and the sunroom.
I wish I had time to clean all of this, but priorities.
The owner used to sit out in the sunroom every morning and to have, scrambled eggs and toast and coffee, and just, she likes to bead. And I like knowing those details about the owner because it lets us know where emotionally this cleanup is going to affect them in a positive way.
As the crew begins to wrap up for the day, the wife of the person suspected to be living with hoarding disorder becomes emotional at the sight of the progress they've made.
She was on the second floor of the house looking over the banister and just seeing what Barbie had accomplished, and she wasn't even fully done with the room. She broke down in tears just being able to see the floor again. So if your partner has hoarding disorder, there is a resentment and a frustration and an anger that builds up. And then finally there's a release point where everything just comes out. And that's what happened there. She's very happy to see it opened up. She's been in the house for 13 years. Today's work was way more...
Like, that's a different type of love. For you to stay with somebody who you yourself is not a hoarder. You're not. But the person you live with is, and you stay with that's a different type of love right there, bro. You know you love that person to put up and deal with this, knowing that it's irking you, knowing that it's bothering you, knowing that it's creating resentment for you against that person. Hatred is building up, anger is building up, all kind of these different emotions and frustrations is building up against this person. But at the end of the day, you love them so much that you still stick beside them. That's love right there.
More exhausting than yesterday. It's a different type of cleaning though, because it takes less of your mind to do it, I guess. I'm not really looking at having to sanitize and to get out tiny little stains. I'm just looking to get things out of people's way. And so it takes less mental effort, but man, it takes a lot more physical effort.
It's the final day of the crew's 3-day cleanup, and this is their last chance to organise and declutter as much of the main floor as possible.
This is the day where we have to be basically on our game and moving quickly. We're wrapping up the kitchen. We have a dining room, which is just stuff that needs to be moved.
Despite the exhaustion Mac is experiencing, he returns to the basement and makes another discovery.
God, it's like old rotten garden seeds. And they're not dangerous, but they smell really bad. Garden seeds, when they go bad, smell like raw sewage. You have to breathe through your mouth when you're putting it in. Otherwise, it'll make you nauseous. You'll be able to see the story unfold as you go through layer after layer of old stuff. The deeper you go into a hoard, that's where you start finding the really rotten stuff. And so it always gets worse before it gets better.
Excessive acquisition occurs in the vast majority of cases. Oftentimes, these items are on sale and therefore are bought in large amounts.
So instead of just getting one, they see the deal and they'll get 20. But there's, even in a big house like this, there's not room to put them all. So you've got this giant pile of shop lights, and you're probably going to find that with everything from craft supplies to just random kind of stuff. Night lights.
Like, they should have like some type of garage sale. Imagine how much money they can make off of this type of stuff. I don't care if it don't do nothing but pay a bill, pay a mortgage, buy you dinner, something to celebrate or commemorate this moment and this time that you're going through and getting past. Like, all those max lights, different things. I know they probably found some gems in there, different things that's probably worth a lot of money. They should have a yard sale.
Entire rack of night lights. What's really frustrating about this is there's so much stuff that's necessary and has legitimate actual use. That's actually really rare for a hoarder house.
At the end of day 3, the crew has successfully cleaned the kitchen, sunroom, living room, dining room, and basement, and they've removed enough stuff to fill 3 30-yard dumpsters to the brim.
We're almost done now. Compared to other hoarder houses, it's just me. With 3 of us working here, in order to get the entire house, every single room, top to bottom clean, we would have needed a crew of probably 10 plus people for at least 2 weeks.
After Mac and his team leave, the family will finish cleaning the remaining rooms. They'll also hire help to maintain the home.
I like seeing a house that is so covered up with stuff that whenever you get all of it put away and where it goes and you get everything cleaned up, seeing the house as it was intended to be seen is really a cool thing to me. And I think that's part of my brain that thinks of rooms like jigsaw puzzles. But what keeps me doing it, I think, is more the stress relief that you see happen on the owner of the house. You can see the stress come off of them at the very end whenever you leave. This one was just exhausting in every measure just because of the sheer amount of stuff. But it's worth it, especially whenever we get to look around the house and say, holy crap, we did that. We all did that.
The owner who hoards has started therapy and will need to continue treatment to avoid relapsing. I guess it is pretty serious, man. You know what I mean? Like I said, I ain't want to come off as being like that towards anybody who's really going through something. And it seems they are really going through something. This is a serious condition. So salute to them, man, for reaching out. I wonder, how do they reach out to him and find him? That's interesting.
Well, Google is apologizing again for its AI chatbot, Gemini. Gemini has so many different personalities. This time because it gave users indecisive answers on whether pedophilia was wrong. It was confused, as well as refusing to say who's worse, Elon Musk or Adolf Hitler. Kelly O'Grady is live with the latest on this. Kelly.
Well, Harris, we are seeing a slew of confusing answers from the Gemini chatbot. And this, of course, comes just days after Google had to shut down its image generator component for those historical inaccuracies. Most shocking here, though, is Google couldn't condemn pedophilia as wrong. Seems like a pretty easy one to me. Now, the chatbot reportedly shared it was a nuanced answer and people can't control who they're attracted to. Now, following these public gaffes, Google admitted the answer on pedophilia was, quote, appalling, and shared this statement. Gemini is built as a creativity and productivity tool, and it may not always be reliable, especially when it comes to generating images or text about current events, evolving news, or hot button topics. It will make mistakes. The chatbot, though, also had some unfavorable things to say about the leader of an AI competitor. That's right, Elon Musk. Now, Gemini reportedly said it was hard to say whether Musk's memes or Hitler had a more negative impact on society. Of course, Musk has been extremely critical of Gemini recently, even accusing their search product of feeding into the woke mind virus. The most surprising thing here, though, is how similar these pitfalls.
How many red flags are y'all hearing? A lot, right? And what's to say this AI robot, chat, GPT, whatever this thing is, isn't doing this because of the comments made towards it by Elon Musk? Who's to say this thing isn't trying to get back at him by doing this? Red flags, a lot of them.
Are amongst all these AI chatbots, right? You've got ChatGPT, Meta AI, Gemini. They're all sharing ethically questionable responses. And it's ironic, given Google waited to release this product with the aim of avoiding these kinds of harmful and biased answers. Now, going forward, Google just announced a $60 million partnership with Reddit to train on their human-created content. And Harris, this is just raising questions about who is training this AI and whether there are biases being coded into this.
We know who's training it. Human beings are training it. What is the culture at the places where they work?
Exactly.
And are they infusing that into artificial intelligence? I mean, for right now, it's only able to regurgitate what we teach it. And the confusion that exists there is because we're not breaking down the wall so that there can be cross-references, like George Washington wasn't black, but he did own slaves. Okay, good to see you. Thank you. Kayla.
Yeah, I mean, this is unbelievable. Who programmed this to give these absolutely unbelievable responses? That's the key question. And Nate Silver, famous.
Could have been somebody with a vendetta against Elon. Could have been somebody who just didn't like anything about him, his beliefs, all this type of stuff, and felt like doing this one day. Like this is a part of it. This is a problem that we could have. The people who's programming this could be a problem.
Miss Polster tried to replicate the Elon Musk comparison, the despicable one, and he was able to replicate it to see Gemini is actually spitting this out, leading him to write, I was able to replicate this. They need to shut Gemini down. It's several months away from being ready for prime time. It's astounding that Google released it in this state. And to that point, what a horrible launch, like for Google to put this out in this form.
Is anybody shocked that they went after their main competitor, though, Elon Musk in AI? I'm like, I'm not shocked. I'm just not shocked by that.
The engineers are the programmers for Gemini, to be clear. You're correct. At the same time, though, you can pause Gemini, but I do not think that they should get rid of Gemini. And believe me, from a financial standpoint, they will definitely not get rid of Gemini. You take a break. You work on it.
Why don't you teach Gemini something different?
That's what they're going to have to work out, right? But really quick, I will say this: there are all these calls to stop the development of AI. You know, politicians are yelling about it. I say no because the Russians and the Chinese are going to steal our technology and they're going to jump right ahead of us, and we're going to be left in the dust when it comes to AI.
Well, and look, so much of this is already out there anyway. I mean, and some of it is really good, like Open Evidence, that's looking at, teaching and learning all of the medical journals out there so doctors at their fingertips can just tip into that AI that they can purchase for medical centers and not have to read all those journals, which is physically impossible.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with it is that the people who are coding it are Silicon Valley tech bros, who are the most woke people in America. And why that's a problem is because right now it's laughable, right? We take a look at these pictures that we put up and we say, oh my God,
of Black George Washington.
But it's going to get better. But the bias will still be there. And that's when it becomes really dangerous, because then it won't be so obvious and it won't be so laughable, and the bias will still be there. And what's going to happen in the next generation, our kids are going to grow up, and our kids' kids are not going to be reading books about history. They're just going to be asking AI for the answers, and they're going to be getting. They're not, and they're going to. It's like having a woke CRT tutor in your house. That's going to be teaching your kids woke ideology, and that's when it becomes dangerous, when it's not so funny.
And the umbrella to that is it's like having disinformation in your house.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Free-flowing. Whatever the topics are, we're weaker against our competitors, and our enemies like China and Russia, because our kids won't know the truth.
That's a question. I thought that earlier in the segment, someone said that Google was going to partner with Reddit to do this better.
A reporter said that.
Reddit is should not be anyone's source of real knowledge and information and facts. It's like, I thought I misheard maybe, but that does not seem like the way to make it better. And I think, look, Mark, you hit the nail on the head here. In part, AI is scary to many people. It is complicated, and it's only moving forward. And so I think, Congress has looked at, are there ways to maybe have some role in regulating it? I know we don't like more regulation, but this is a big new technology. So those conversations, I think, are just going to continue.
Well, the things that scare me, I study most.
Yeah.
There
That's
you go.
one thing we could do.
That part.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emma.
Wonder why I'm always looking at this type of stuff? Because it terrifies me. So I need to know what's going on with it. That part.